Greetings, Macomb area BLIC participants. This is Rochelle. I'm going to give you an overview of Module 5. It did open this morning. I was able to open it, and I apologize for the delay in the screencast, giving you the overview. As it is already open, you can access it in two ways, either by scrolling down until you hit Module 5, or from the left-hand side, just click on Module 5, Making Connections. And just like the title sounds, that is exactly what the module is all about, is making connections. So if we go into the introduction, you can see that we're going to talk about interaction being both social and academic in order to have a successful classroom, and how that applies to your online classroom, not just your face-to-face classroom. We'll be reviewing asynchronous tools for building connections, how we build collaboration online, and techniques for building community in the online environment, many of which we've already been using in our class. Our academic vocabulary for this module is collaboration, community, and discussion forum. We have used all of those, but if you need a refresher, I would suggest that you look them up. After the introduction, we have the meeting schedule, which really is just a reminder that we use the calendar. On Sunday evenings from 8 until 9, we will be holding office hours. If you find that you need some help along the way, either with the previous modules or the current ones, please just contact me or Jan, and we will be willing to meet with you at another time. This is where you will find the virtual meeting link, which Jan covered on Monday because of our Adobe glitch. And after I've recorded this, I will also put the module overview in here. If you're not able to attend the virtual meeting, which was most of you, please make sure you watch those videos and then respond to the forum post. Then we're going to begin our actual plunge into exploring what is community. So we begin with a lesson. What is community? And this basically is just an overview of different aspects of community, and you can make your way through the course. It gives you an understanding of why with some great links that you can explore more in depth. After the why, it gives you strategies and different ways that you can use things. And again, this is just an overview. After strategies, we talk about tone, and that's so important. We know that with email and even with text, sometimes his tone is difficult to read. So there's some interesting things to help you out, both as you begin communicating in forums, but also how to help your participants. We then move more in detail in discussion forums and give you some ideas and best practices on how to engage your students in those. All of you have experienced the discussion forums at this point, so that should be something that is easy for you to remember. Okay, the last part of this lesson is a little true or false, and I just want to warn you, as what happens before, once you answer this, I click true and hit submit, you will see that what it does is it bumps me back out to the course. You did not do anything wrong, you were done with the lesson, so it completed. After you've completed the lesson, what is community, then there is a forum discussion on creating a collaborative community. Please note that you have to share at least one reason why creating a collaborative community is important. Share enough detail that when someone else is reading the post, they have an understanding of what you are looking at or what you're considering. And then the next part is to respond thoughtfully to at least one of your cohort's responses, requesting more details, sharing insights, or the pros and cons of what they have shared. So please remember, until you do both of those, it will not show up as complete. You actually respond to the forum by clicking on the discussion, creating a collaborative community, and using the reply button. After the discussion, there is a brainstorming activity. Please note that for the activity, you're going to refer to the INACOL standards C and D, so go back and review those. That is your framework for your strategies. There's also a link for using icebreakers effectively for looking at the benefits and any ideas that you want to use in your course. So you're going to brainstorm at least 3 activity ideas for building connections with your students. And I just want to point out here that even though it says using icebreakers, some teachers get caught up in the fact that this isn't really the beginning of a class, so do we need icebreakers? But I find I need icebreakers throughout my course. For instance, if you're setting up a new unit, or when we've just had a testing window and they haven't had class time, or we haven't been online for a while, or even just a way to come back. It really is more about the connection than the ice breaking. So you should have icebreakers to begin your course as we did, but that does not mean you don't look for ways to build connection throughout. Okay, so for the directions, you're going to brainstorm at least 3 activity ideas for building connections with your students online. Please make sure you're thinking not of things that you would do in the classroom, but in your online environment. Each idea needs to be completed as a separate entry so that you have a total of 3 glossary entries. So please note the assignment is set up that until that is complete, you will not be able to mark as complete. So if it's looking like you are not, that could be the reason why. After you complete your post, read through your colleagues' ideas, and if you have suggestions for other tools or way to modify and use the activity, then make sure you share those in the comment area. The next activity, which is also done in a glossary, is to design a discussion prompt. Go to the last page of the module lesson, read about effective discussions, and then this is what you should post. You will need to create a discussion prompt. It should refer your students to prior learning or knowledge, and you need to pose a clear question for response. The discussion board guidelines or expectations need to be included, and there's examples of what you should do, as well as a clear criteria of how students will be graded on their posts and responses to others. I find a rubric is most helpful for that and actually include it in part of my course handbook. Post your discussion in the glossary entry and include instruction and video and forum post if you want to. So that is not required, but if you want to. After you've posted your prompt, give constructive, positive feedback to a minimum of 2 other entries. You must have 1 entry for the activity plus the 2 constructive, positive feedback in order for this assignment to be marked complete. The last part of the application of this is for you to actually implement an icebreaker in the online portion of your blended environment. But this is the important part. Just like the last module, part of the assignment requires you to gather feedback from your participants. So you're going to want to be planning this over the next 2 weeks. First, design the icebreaker. You will upload a file describing it or screenshot the icebreaker of your blended site. Then after you have actually used the icebreaker with your students, gather feedback from them and post a summary of their views in the notes area. So make sure when you submit the assignment that you have completed both sections, even if it means that there is a wait time as you move through the course. At this point, all the new material in the module has been covered, and you are just finishing up the required portions that you do for every module. You will review your tracking form for Module 5. Please remember to change the color and indicate what color you are using. You need to look at your celebrations, but you also need to look at each area and either continue moving your plan forward, what needs to be done as a next step, or identify new things that have come up as you are working through implementing your course. After completing your tracking form, please make sure to fill out a reflection. I would encourage you to think thoughtfully both about the INACOL standards and communicating online. Also consider what went well, what you would change for next time, and reflecting on icebreakers or online communication and building your community. Sometimes it's difficult when you get to this part and it may feel redundant, but it's important in the reflection for Jan and I to be able to see where you're thinking and how that's changed as a result of what you've experienced with this module. Last but not least, we ask that you make sure that you complete the Making Connections feedback. Jan and I, as well as the course supervisors, review that to make sure that we're meeting your needs and to address what needs to be addressed in the blended learning classroom. When you've completed all the lessons and activities in Module 5, you will celebrate with Daffy. Looking ahead, What About the Learner is going to be the next module. I will tell you that What About the Learner is going to include you closed captioning a screencast, so that can take a little bit of time, but the good news is some of you will be on break, so you can use that time to actually complete that lesson.